Welcome to lesson 23 of the Alchemical Kabbalah, the current of Mem, the waters of life, and the east-west axis on the cube of space. Mem, memory, memorize, remember, memo, memorial, meme, restore the creator to his throne. This statement of restoring the creator to his throne is taken from a line in the Book of Formation, or the Sefer Yetzirah. In chapter 1, verse 4, it reads, 10 is the number of the ineffable Sephiroth, 10 and not 9, 10, not 11. Understand this wisdom and be wise in the perception. Search out concerning it. Restore the word to its creator and replace him who formed it upon his throne. Also from the Book of Formation regarding Mem, the 23rd path is called the stable intelligence. It is so called because it has the virtue of consistency among all numerations. The letter Mem has the numerical value of the number 40 in Hebrew, as in 40 days and 40 nights, etc. You can think of all the references to the number 40 within your own life and the books of the Bible, mysticism, etc. In short, the number 40 shows the 10 Sephiroth on the tree, the visible Sephiroth, all 10 of them, active in all 4 levels or 4 worlds of Kabbalah, from the Godhead to the manifestation of the earth in Malkut. These prime 4 levels of reality are represented by the God name, which is called the Tetragrammaton. Simply means 4-letter name. In Kabbalah, it's the Yod He Vav He, or Jehovah or Yahweh, one of the great names of God in Hebrew and Kabbalah. The English transliteration of that formula is everything or all that ever was, all that is now, and all that ever shall be. We see these 4 letters written on the breast of the white robes of the Fool and the Holy Guardian Angel in Tarot. And the Spirit of God hovered over the face of the deep. The second mother letter we will unfold is Mem, the mother letter of water. What does it mean to be a mother letter? There are only 3 so-called mother letters in the Hebrew Aleph Bet. To be a mother is first to conceive and then to give birth. Remember, all of this is within you. So let's dive right into the deep waters of our key and current for this week. This week's key is the suspended man, the current of Mem. So please unmute yourselves one at a time and read what occurs to you in this key.
The cord from his ankle, in his head, and going in towards the center of the earth, but it's lit. Backwards, upside down.
Yes, yes. And they're both white. Good
Mm-hmm.
point. Excellent starting point.
It looks to me that the wood is the beams is the letter Hey.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can see how you would see that. Excuse me. It does resemble a hay, and this in the book it's the letter Tav.
Okay.
The green grass is suspended.
Yes. Nice observation. It certainly is. And
His,
green. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, his white hair, holy God, godlike, going, illuminated one, but
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I was going to say the white cross in the center of his blue cloak.
Right. Right there, right in the center.
I don't know if the 10 buttons mean anything.
Well,
Yeah.
what might they mean?
Something that represents 10.
That is right. So the 10 spheres on the traditional tree, 10, not 9, 10, not 11. Good observation. And there are 4 on this side and 6 on this side of the belt. So that's curious.
Is it the 4 fire, water, earth, and air,
Okay.
and the 2 moons?
Yeah, who remembers what the tattva of the moon is? Which element?
Water.
Crescent. That's right. Excellent. It is water. The crescent in the Western tradition is always water. Sometimes the 5 tattvas are called the global, or it's the old earth tradition, but they're mixed all through the Western tradition.
His
His
His,
facial expression, oh, excuse me.
no, go ahead there, Doug.
His facial expression is very peaceful and calm for being, in human terms, upside down.
Yeah, completely not worried.
But it must mean that things are backwards and upside down for us in the yeah. The facial expression tells a lot to me.
Yeah.
He looks very balanced.
Yeah.
Balanced and harmonious.
Right.
He has white hair, which we look at as someone who's old, and his face is youthful.
Yes. Nice. Yes. Perfect.
And his legs are red and they're suspended, so activity is not moving.
Mm.
Though they look like a number 4.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
they are not. Red is activity, always
Right.
activity. So there they are. You
Yes.
cannot see his hands.
Right.
So his
Interesting.
hands are not being used.
Right. Back
So-
here.
Yeah. So he's in this position, and he's in a point of illumination at ease. So he's not making with his hands to be in this position. So he's in the state of mind to be in this position.
Yes.
And also, since the breath and the body are levers that we can actually control to start to control our energy, it reminds me of the yoga position, the inverted, what's it called? The Margot would know.
Dog.
Where you put your feet over your head. I mean,
Yeah, it's an inversion.
it's an inversion, and if you can do that slowly for several minutes and stay when you come back, you will be so renewed and fresh.
Nice.
And of course, the headstand is extremely advanced. And I tried that once years ago and had a headache for 3 days. It's
You didn't land on your head, did you?
Yeah, but just to get myself up like this and to support myself, support my
Mhm.
top of my legs.
Yeah.
Shoulder stand is called, excuse me.
Okay.
It's
Okay,
it's
yeah.
amazing.
There's
I
different
know that
ones.
Margot loves yoga and has had amazing experiences with it, but it's wonderful. But that's what came to mind when I saw this.
Mm, interesting.
Yeah, it's very balancing feeling.
And again, we have yellow in two
Mhm.
places, on his shoes and
Yep.
around his head.
Yes.
And yellow, the intellect. We always remember, where do we see yellow on the other cards? In the
Yes.
background for the fool,
Yep.
and the background for the magician. So there's some
Yes.
sense of relationship to those cards, and yellow being the background is the intellect and super consciousness in regards to the intellect. And it's being suspended by a white cord that is, it's not just a cord, it's a spiral.
Yes.
And the earth has parted.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So though we think of water, there's no, quote, water there. So it's all mind again.
Right. So the background's gray. What's the gray sphere on the tree?
Wisdom.
Yes, wisdom.
So what's coming to me on this, if it's okay for me to speak,
Yes.
I don't know if it's proper or correct, but I'm thinking of the umbilical cord. I'm
Yeah.
thinking of action is bound by this, like you're almost like when you come here before you remember who you are, you're almost like you don't have, it's like something else is just on taking you on this journey before you are self-actualized. So this red is in, you're almost like you can't help yourself, you're just going for it.
Mm.
It's like for some reason I'm thinking of the action is bound by this force that just has to move through you unknowingly. That's where my mind goes with it.
Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
It kind of reminds me of a reflection in water.
Yeah. I can see that. Very nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you all for your excellent insights and sharing. So I really, really appreciate all of your participation and sharing. The thing is, when you share something, only you can bring that into the world, and you have absolutely no idea what that's going to spark in other people who see this. So thank you. The word man comes from the Hindu root manas, which means mind. And the phonetic sound mim is a Latin root meaning also mind. Remember, all is mind. Memory and to remember. And so the world we live in today, the internet, is a sea of memes. Is it not? How many memes do you see now in a day or a week?
Too many,
How many do you share?
quite a lot.
Right. Our whole world of communication is evolving quickly into a meme-generated language.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't know what memes are.
Okay. So,
Seriously, I don't interact. I don't know what it means. So tell me.
Okay, so a meme, you see them a lot on the internet, social media.
Okay.
They can be usually they contain something comical, something funny. It'll show a picture and then it'll have like a uh a short little excerpt of language describing a situation that
Oh,
is common to most of us, okay? But since it's a meme, it's almost like the ones that are comedy are like jokes, but they're like in picture form, and you get all this information at once, and they go viral and they go across the world, and they get like contagious, right? They're kind of like a contagion in the mind because they're so they stick so easily in the mind.
so
Because,
picture,
because
these are
many times
pictures
they
that
tell the,
move?
no, it's
Pardon
just
me?
a picture.
It's
I'll
a
show you a
picture
meme,
that
Margot.
moves.
Here, Margot, I'm going to show you a meme right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
because no one's ever explained it to me. I've heard of them and I went, I don't know what that is.
Here's
Yeah.
one.
Just realized what it was.
Oh, did she? Okay. All right. Here's one that just out of the blue just came, but I thought it might be fun. This is sort of a meme. Speaking of the cube.
Rubik's
Oh,
Cube.
that's so cute.
I love this one.
And the guy at the top.
Yeah, right. Perfect, right? And notice there are 4 levels.
Yeah,
Sorry.
So that fits nicely.
yeah,
Okay.
the little guy at the bottom's doing all the work, and then the other two are just sitting there going for it.
Yeah, it's all perspective.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
you're welcome. So,
Now I got an idea.
working with the Book of Wisdom, the 3x7 or the 4x5 in that tableau will assist you in reading the symbols of the deep mind and will assist you in navigating that mind with skill. Much like in the olden days, kings had dream interpreters. You have so much more access to wisdom and knowledge of the collective mind by studying the Book of Wisdom that you will come to be able to read the language of the subconscious consciously and without obscurity. This is one benefit of immersing yourself in the Book of Wisdom. And memes are so popular today because they transfer much more content in one picture than lots of words, as in the saying, pictures are worth 1,000 words, right? The more one works with the Book of Wisdom, you will find it priceless because it speaks to and connects you to real living wisdom within you. And I will stress once again, memorize and use the pattern on the trestle board. At the beginning of your day and the end of each day is a really great practice. You might read or state it from the top of the crown down to the kingdom when you wake up in the morning. And then on retiring, start at the bottom at the kingdom and work backwards to the crown. That's an excellent practice. The suspended man in tarot here is the key of reversal. This is also an excellent practice for you to use consciously, this concept of reversal throughout your life and studies from time to time, whenever it occurs to you. If you will do this practice yourself, be creative. It will show you things as to its value and teach you things that otherwise could not be experienced. So this week, as you go through your week, try to see things from a reversed and backwards viewpoint. So we're going to try this right now. Everyone just think of whatever comes to you, simply one thing, doesn't matter what it is. Just state something that you might consider from a state of reversal. So I will start this. It's possible that you may think that you are here as a student participating in this class on Kabbalah. Now consider it is possible that you are the one actually teaching this class in reality. And it only appears that you are participating as a student. So please unmute yourselves one at a time and state what occurs to you as reversed or possibly reversed that may not have been considered before.
Something very obvious is we have stop signs that are red. And red is the color of activity.
Mm,
I actually, living in the order after about a year, light turned red and I stepped off the sidewalk and walked. Yeah. I got hit by a car, but you know,
oh,
they worked out. God protected me incredibly. So I had been inside a monastery for a year, and then I saw the color red and I moved.
Right.
wow. Okay.
Totally out off the planet.
Mm,
Because that would be one thing. And then what you said, I will add to, Eli, is you are the student and we are the teachers, because when you teach, you learn more than what you're saying, because the energy is moving through you to respond, which is why we have conversations and teach.
yes, nice.
And another thing I love when I'm talking to someone, I will sometimes step back and say, and look at them, we're having a conversation, and then I'll look at the person and inside my mind, I'll reverse what they're saying. And it reveals to me where they are. It's interesting. Okay, enough of me.
Thank you.
In colors, green is the color of love, and yet we all send red valentines to each other, which is passion.
Mm,
And the Mars, yeah. We should be sending green valentines.
yeah.
Here's one for Margot.
Oops.
There's stars all in the sky and all the constellations, but we actually are all stars within ourselves, because there's a star within us all.
Yeah.
So not only is there the constellation with the galaxies and stars that we look at all night, but when we look at each other, we should be able to see that there is a star in each person.
Ah, nice.
So how many stars are attending the class? 2, 4, 6, 9. We
Should
have
be
stars.
10.
9 stars here.
Is it 10?
Should be 10. There's someone in spirit.
Interesting.
1, 2, 3,
That's right. Good call.
9. Okay, right.
Well, we think it's me or I and you, but in fact, it's relationship.
Yeah.
I don't know about fact, but that's kind of a
No,
reverse way to see it.
absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
Mhm.
I think of a mirror. I think of like the great reflection, and it's like we live in a, I like to say, backwards and upside down world, and it goes from operating from outside in to inside out. And I think operating from inside out is where, for me, I'm finding more of the truth. And it's very, very different, and takes adjusting to get, it takes quite a bit of adjustment and compassion and forgiveness through that lens. It's like, I just call it the great reflection.
Mm. That's really, really nice.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
And we think there's time, which is kind of a made up construction. And there's only now.
Mm.
Yes. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Because we're always what's on my schedule and what haven't I done? You know, it's before. What didn't I finish and what am I going to do? And you're not where you are. That's wonderful. Yeah.
I was going to say prayer and meditation. You know, with prayer, we think we're giving something, but ultimately, anything we give, we receive. And with meditation, I think we believe we're receiving, but I often feel when I'm in a group like this, or especially in a meditative group, that we're all connected and we're all receiving and giving at the same time.
Mm.
It's beautiful.
Excellent.
Th-
Okay. Go ahead, Doug.
This this card is really speaking to me.
Mm-hmm.
There's a movie called The Mighty that came out in the late 90s. It's just, please, if you can find it, watch it. You'll cry at the end. It's so beautiful. About a
Okay.
little boy that had a disease, and he helped his neighbor learn how to read. And he said, every word is part of a picture. Every sentence is a picture. We communicate so much with words, but pictures are senior to words because it only is to build up a picture. And this picture is a bit shocking to me because it's waking me up to the fact that this clearly detailed picture communicates far beyond any words I could come up with. And he's in an illumined state, and he's very calm, and he's radiating the light, and his centers are balanced, and he's very harmonious, and he's in the eternal moment, it looks like. So I just wanted to share that. It's
Thank
just
you.
the
Yeah.
image is so vivid and beautiful, as all the cards, but it's just communicating so much.
You just brought to mind, he's at ease in trust.
Yes,
At ease in trust.
at ease and trust, living by grace.
Yeah. He's totally calm, hanging there by his leg,
Yes,
Yep.
surrendered.
but at ease in trust in a very awkward position.
Mm.
Trusting.
How
Yes.
do we know, how do we know which character this is? Like conscious, subconscious, or super conscious? How do we know what character these are? Because there's 3 characters in the tarot. How do you know which one is which?
That's a good question. And that's a question you should ask this key in your core practice this week.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, thank you all. Oftentimes, people think they are breathing when we are being breathed. Now, we scientifically know that the lenses of our physical eyes turn everything upside down, and our brain reinverts this imagery to make things appear as they do, upright, so to speak. Now, if you could take one eye out, let's say your right eye, and you could look through it with your left eye, you would see everything in the world upside down again, just as you do all the time before your brain reinverts it. Working with this key starts to turn everything on its head. which in turn allows you to break through denser patterns of beliefs and habits of thought held in the mind of the individual and the collective. Simply observe what occurs to you as you practice this. Most simply, this allows more light to come through and be less obscured by our beliefs and thoughts. What is left when the mind is perfectly still is a pure reflection of the self in the waters of the mind. And this is not a metaphor. It's a real, living, inner experience expressed in like manner in many traditions. So pause right now and take a deep breath and relax and let it go. I would like for you to now see yourself, imagine yourself in your house right now, and it is the most perfect day ever. The sky is crystal blue outside. And I want you to imagine that you have never in your life seen the sun. And today, right now, you walk out and you look into this perfect blue sky and you see the sun for the very first time now. Imagine and keep that image with you always. So we often hear of people having mystical experiences or near-death experiences, and they speak of a light or lights at the end of a tunnel. Sometimes what we call death or transition in this world, if we looked at it in reverse, it's much closer to life. And what is entry into this world of 3D from the viewpoint of the inner planes of spirit, being born into this world might be viewed from that perspective as also a type of death or transition. It's said sometimes that those who are asleep in the flesh are sometimes likened to the dead. As the Master said, let the dead bury the dead. If you would like some insight or a rule of thumb as to how awake one is, simply look at how reactive we are or you are to occurrences in life. What are the things, do things trigger us into unconscious reactions? Are there any occurrences that cause you to lose control of yourself, your words, your self-expression, your feelings? These are the low fruits that we should strive to become more conscious and aware of within ourselves. When you are skilled at observing thoughts in the mind, as they occur to your awareness, you start to pick up on the source or where these thoughts are coming from. They're like broadcasting stations. And the more awake you become to this, for many people, it comes as quite a surprise that most of what we call our thoughts are not our own. So imagine you had this super sensibility, like right now, to tune in to various cell phone towers that are around you all the time. And you could tune in to specific conversations right now. Now, aren't you glad that you don't hear the billions of conversations that are going on, right? You don't. That's a gift. That's a protection. But that's what the mass mind in the earth is actually like. There are literally billions of conversations, patterns of behavior, and beliefs or belief systems occurring within this sea of vibration of the mind that you and I swim within. This sea of thoughts. Imagine how quiet your mind would become if you could elevate your self-consciousness above the earth like astronauts floating in deep space. And there's the sun again. We swim around in a sea of thoughts that we are then navigating through and identifying with. Now, to be crystal clear, there's nothing wrong with having thoughts. It's not something one needs or has to overcome. That's not the way. We need thoughts to function. The problems occur when we identify ourself with our thoughts, which is just being asleep or unconscious. We just simply need to see thoughts and the mind for what it is at this level. They're like clouds in the sky, vapors of water, changing forms all the time. It's a very rare thing to have an original thought. But let's imagine that you did have an original thought. It is possible that you have had actually many of them in your life. How would you communicate that truly original thought to others? How could they comprehend a truly original thought from another? Okay. So here's how. The transmission of truth or real thoughts of origin or original thought is simply what is called gnosis. This cannot be explained by the intellect, but it may be experienced. It's a method of transmission of the higher mind to the lower mind from the self. Sometimes or oftentimes in the mysteries, this appears and looks like it comes through a teacher-student relationship, which is just one working model for how these transmissions occur. But at the end of the day, it is always the self that is doing the work. This is one reason it's said that the Kabbalah cannot be taught, but it may be received. And when the master was asked how he did the great works he did, he said, "Of myself I do nothing. It's the Father within me who doeth the works." And this is the essence of the suspended man. This and be still and know. So let's look at this now on a deeper level. We know the suspended man connects the east to the western face on the cube. He connects the center of the womb of the high priestess in the east, and the current then comes and is born into the western face, hence the umbilical cord. All right. This is the way most of us come into the world. On the Christian path, it is said to enter the kingdom of heaven, which is within you, one must be, quote, born again. Now, people often think this is, as most spiritual teachings, a metaphor. You will find many things taken as metaphor in the teachings of the world are not a metaphor at all when it comes to the spiritual path. To be born again, as the Master taught, is the birth of the divine within you from the mystical alchemical marriage of the Father and Mother within you, that you are. We sometimes hear artists speak of their creations as their babies. The polarities of desire within you, when mixed at their most fundamental and pure level, leads to the reunification of your Adam and Eve, your self and subconscious. And from this union comes the birth of this divine child. When this alchemical marriage or union occurs, one can and will then indeed be born again within, back into the world of spirit, consciously. And one can then, as Margot likes to tell us, finally get off of the Western face of this cube. We get a choice then. All right, here's our 3x7 layout. Here is Mem right here, falling in the middle of the 5th stage of spiritual unfoldment. Now, so here's a real common analogy on this regarding the spiritual path. We hear it a lot about this transformation from being a caterpillar to the butterfly. There's a good reason this analogy is used. The hangman has been compared to the caterpillar as they suspend themselves, see from that little branch there, and they weave a cocoon of transformation. Now, note how the 12th tarot key comes before the 13th key in order of transition or transformation. So the question then is, what is one being transformed into? Well, if you read the book simply, like a child, the next key gives us a very good suggestion as to what might be coming next. Right here, we see a winged creature, the great holy guardian angel, which is your higher being. And we know in a 3x7 layout that the bottom row are the results. So the result of this cocoon state is then what? What key is in the results section? Anyone?
The sun.
Thank you. Yes, perfect. Absolutely. The sun. Another excellent clue as to what might come from this state. The sun key, if you will recall in the Western tradition, is the heart chakra. And it's also the next stage of spiritual evolution of humanity on the cube of space. Someone brought that up earlier. How many stars are there? And how long has this process been occurring?
Hmm.
There you go. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So here we are. The caterpillar doesn't know what will come of it, but it trusts in nature that is supporting it as they weave their cocoon. You know, afterwards, they are completely dissolved into liquid. Completely. This liquid goo-like substance. So alchemically, the mother letter of Mem, water, brings about this dissolution. Remember, the fire is in the water, and the water is in fire.
Hmm.
The caterpillar trusts the process and emerges as a beautiful new creature with wings. Now, I read a really interesting study just not long ago, where they exposed caterpillars that were in this liquid state of their cocoon to a certain stimulus. And then after they transformed and emerged as butterflies, they exposed the butterflies to the same stimulus. And the responses from the butterflies suggest that they retained memory from the previous stimulus while they were in the liquid state, even in this new state of transformation. So that is really interesting on a lot of different levels. Let's look at this. All right, here are our 3 mother letters in the Trinity and Triangle. It's said that the universe never forgets itself or any part of itself. Remember, the Fool is there in his egg of light or cocoon of light and steps forward into this reversal position, suspended as the Hanged Man. There's a lot to contemplate in this imagery. This is what occurs when the mind, the self-conscious mind, is suspended in the superconscious. And remember, in Kabbalah, the great mind that we all live, move, have our being in is, and what is producing what we call the universe, is imagining and thinking us into existence. When we come into contact with this knowing or gnosis that we are the life's meditation upon itself, this is true reversal. Then one can completely relax and let go and trust in the one that is actually running the show. In the East, this is called the way. We've all heard the phrase, let go and let God. The Hanged Man is precisely that. Focused work with the Hangman will bring you to realize that we are 100% completely dependent on life itself. And it brings the mind into a state of merging back into the superconscious of our inner being. In the East, they call this state samadhi. It's a blissful ecstasy of light. You see the light behind the Hanged Man. That state of samadhi is what happens when the mind is completely still. It's not something that we have to create or make happen. It's just what is. When the mind settles down, it becomes apparent to us. So he's suspended from the letter Tav. Remember, it's the key of reversal. So who recalls, you might have attended this class, that 21 reverse would be 12. So we see the suspended man here. That's the letter Tav, the world, which we know is at the center of the cube of space. And here's the mirror reflection. Now, if you look at the hangman, you see the branches right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little nubs on each one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little nubs. So we see 12 branches have been cut back here off of this Tav. These are the 12 signs of the zodiac that have been cut back, and the 12 petals of the outer rose are the edges of the cube of space. What this tells you is that you are at a much deeper level of being, of your being, in this key. This is why the mother letters are at the center of the cube of space, and the center petals on the rose cross. Mem, the mother letter, mother, mater, matter, matter. So looking at this triangle, please just one at a time state one thing that occurs to you from these 3 keys. Doesn't matter, just whatever it is. You have to unmute yourself if you're talking. Okay,
I get
that's perfect. Go ahead.
leaving and going home.
Ah, perfect. Beautiful. Love it. Love it. Love that. That's okay, we'll just call this class then.
Well, yeah, you're on your way to your adventure. Then you get your act together and then you go
Yeah.
home.
Yeah, that's excellent. I love it. Very nice. Is there anyone else?
Divine process.
Perfect.
Yeah. But I'm sorry to say you never go anywhere.
Ah,
That's the fool. He doesn't
Ah.
really step off anything. You never, the
Mm.
inner self never goes anywhere, has never left home.
right.
But outwardly, this is what we do.
Yes. Well, what else are we gonna do?
It appears
I know we could attend class forever with you, Eli. This is very good.
Okay. All right. I will I will move this forward unless someone wants to say something. I'll say interesting shorthand in medical language. The triangle is used as a symbol of change. Just throwing that out there. People don't know. So if you look at this triangle in the Christian mysteries, which I want to stress are rooted in the ageless wisdom, one is first baptized or immersed in water, right here. Okay? This is the alchemical renewing of the mind, as water is mind. After this, one is then baptized in fire, right here, which is the spirit, the light that comes once the soul and self have reunited in this alchemical marriage within. This results in liberation of consciousness, and the soul comes back to its higher home of spirit, which, as Margot rightly said, never left. But we see here a new creature that's spoken of in the New Testament has taken on the Christ, is born again here in the water, and then resurrected here in the final judgment. Hence, this is called the judgment key, which will end our cube study next week. So in the Western tradition, much like the Eastern, a soul is kept in cycles of birth and rebirth until this mystical union and spiritual rebirth come to pass. And one is, quote, born again. As the good book says, then all things become new for that soul. All things. Then one has the option to move on from the cycles of birth and rebirth, or they may choose to be reborn and assist others in the goal of alchemy or completing the great work and the great return. I'm going to show you something interesting here. Here's one way the Western tradition speaks to these mysteries. This is the word mem spelled out in its entirety. It's simply 2-lettered mems in Hebrew. That's it. Now you'll notice there's a slight difference between these 2 letters. The reason for this, in Hebrew of the 22 letters, there are a few letters, couple, handful, that have what are called final forms. Okay? And those letters have a final form when they occur at the end of a word, and that's it. Anywhere else, they don't occur in that form. And there's only a handful of them. Mem is one of them. Mem has this as its final form. So you see here, this is the first letter because we're reading right to left. Mem and Mem spells Mem. And what this shows is an open womb and a closed womb. So that's curious. Let's look at this. If we spell out Mayim, which is Hebrew for waters or chaos, this is what we see. We see the two mems and the divine seed or spark of Yod right between them. So this divine spark of fire is the seed that goes into this womb of Mem, and then the womb closes. And this is the waters. When it enters the womb of Mem as a seed of light, a new creation comes into formation. Remember, all of this is within you. Now, here's another thing Kabbalah teaches about final Mem, is that final Mem shares the same position on the cube of space as the world key, the direct center of the cube. This isn't well known, and of course, not a lot of people study the cube of space. But that's the position of final Mem. It's the reflection and completion of the world key in the center of the cube itself. Now, the world mother or mater, we see the letter Tav and Mem, which interestingly, in Hebrew form the word tam or tom, and it means whole, complete, or perfect. So that's pretty cool. The fool is plunged into the deep waters of Mem, and in the third mother letter Sheen, right here, we see the emerging of the self-conscious here and the subconscious here. And now we see this is the only major trump and tarot in the major arcana that shows self-conscious, subconscious with a child. And we see super consciousness up here. So the parental aspects within your own mind and being, your whole being, have now alchemically, you have produced something new has come from within you. And the angel here is the Archangel Gabriel, which means God is my strength. And the angel who made the annunciation to Mary that she would conceive a divine child. At the heart of the cube and the rose cross, we see the initiations of rebirth through baptism here and resurrection from the third dimensional world through the letter Shin, which in Hebrew is the letter for the Holy Spirit, the divine fire. Note how the hangman is suspended. The suspended man is suspended from the Hebrew letter Tav, which means cross. So back to the final form of Mem. Just as the form itself of final Mem shows, it restores the creator to his throne as a new life has been conceived within the innermost womb of the mother or mater within you. This concludes lesson 23 of the Alchemical Kabbalah, Mem, the Waters of Life. As always, thank you all so very much for your contributions and your presence, and the floor is now open. Any questions or comments?